Do you know what is more terrifying than ghosts? In July 2021, on a well-known Chinese forum, a blogger posted about how he and his wife encountered a series of bizarre events beyond their comprehension after renting a house near their workplace. These incidents even changed the blogger's perception of the world. Turn off the lights, lie in bed, tuck in the quilt, and let's start today's story. Hello everyone, I am PickTalk. The incident happened in early July 2021. Due to a job transfer, the blogger and his wife rented a second-hand 3-bedroom apartment near the new workplace. While they were still immersed in the joy of moving into their new home, one night a few days later, the wife suddenly told the blogger that she hadn't been sleeping well for the past 2 nights. Whenever she fell asleep, she felt as if something was pressing on her. The blogger, having been a soldier, had never believed in such things. He explained to his wife that ghost oppression sleep paralysis is just a form of sleep disorder. Simply put, the brain wakes up but the body doesn't. He thought it might be due to exhaustion from moving and told her not to overthink it. But a few days later, the blogger realized things were far more complicated than he'd imagined. That night, shortly after midnight, with no ball game broadcasts, he and his wife went to bed early. His wife soon started snoring softly, but the blogger, preoccupied with work matters, couldn't fall asleep. Just as he felt drowsy and thought about getting up to use the bathroom before sleeping, his wife suddenly screamed and sat up. The blogger quickly asked what was wrong. She said she dreamed of a woman walking out of the wall opposite their bed. Though the woman had short hair, no matter how hard she looked, she couldn't make out her features. It was as if her face was shrouded in a mist, giving an extremely eerie feeling. Hearing this in the middle of the night, the blogger felt a chill but still thought his wife might be overly tired and stressed. Leading to these recurring episodes, he comforted her, went to the bathroom, and lay down to sleep, with no further incidents that night. The next morning, the blogger's wife began searching online for similar stories. The blogger teased her for making a fuss over nothing and not trusting science. However, the very next night he experienced sleep paralysis himself. About half an hour after they'd fallen asleep, the blogger suddenly felt his consciousness rouse, but his body was completely immobile. He couldn't even move a finger. He strained to open his eyes, managing to lift only one lid. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a short-haired woman standing at the bedroom door. He tried to see her face clearly, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't. Just as the blogger wondered who she was, the woman suddenly moved, slowly floating toward his bed. Fear surged within him. He struggled frantically, trying to make a sound or wake up, as she floated beside the bed and slowly bent down. He could distinctly feel her short hair brushing his face, and that indistinct face drew closer and closer. Summoning all his strength, he gradually regained control of his body. When he looked again, the short-haired woman was gone. The blogger sat up, his pajamas soaked in cold sweat. He recalled his wife's recent experiences. She'd also seen the short-haired woman. He had to admit they must have encountered something unclean. The next afternoon, after lunch, he took leave and brought his wife to Night Cave, a place locals often visited for such matters. They prayed from the Songqing Hall to the Yuhuang Hall, then told a master at the cave about their recent experiences. The master wrote something down and explained that they'd disturbed something when moving in, which needed to be deterred. He pulled out a peach wood token and a talisman, saying these would prevent nightmares and that other issues could be addressed once the nightmares stopped. Though the blogger had never believed in such things, fear drove him to follow the master's instructions. That night, he and his wife slept soundly, but their relief was short-lived. The next afternoon, as the blogger entered his home after work, his head spun. He noticed the talisman he'd stuck above the bedroom doorframe was gone. He quickly called his wife, but she was just as confused, suggesting it might have fallen off and telling him to check other rooms. After hanging up, he searched the entire house but found no sign of the talisman. In desperation, he examined the spot where the talisman had been. Hoping for clues, he noticed a dark, sticky substance there. Grabbing a stool, he stood up for a closer look. It appeared to be ash from burned paper, and he faintly smelled something burnt. Could the talisman have burned by itself? He contacted the master from Night Cave immediately. The next morning, the master arrived in person, bringing equipment straight out of a movie. But shortly after he began his rituals, the 3 incense sticks in the censer suddenly extinguished. The master exclaimed, "Oh no, it is the 3 long and 2 short incense omen." The blogger and his wife didn't understand, but when they tried relighting the incense, it went out quickly, as if damp. The master explained that 3 long and 2 short meant the unclean thing refused a peaceful resolution, and with his current abilities he couldn't solve it. He advised them to find someone more skilled and left in a hurry, terrified that even the master couldn't help. The couple refused to stay home that night. They packed lightly and checked into a city hotel, hoping a change of place would help. But that night, the blogger had another strange dream. He stood on a football field-sized grassy area, surrounded by fog, with nothing in the sky. Wondering where he was and whether it was day or night, he suddenly heard a woman's voice calling his name. Looking toward the sound, he saw 2 figures about 10 meters away. One was the short-haired woman he'd seen during the sleep paralysis, and the other was a man in a black robe, whom he didn't recognize at all. The man was gesturing wildly behind the woman, as if manipulating something, looking very strange. Then the woman called his name again, urging him, "Come here, hurry." At that moment, the blogger felt his body slipping out of control, inching toward her. He realized the danger, and like before, struggled to wake himself. Finally, his subconscious roused him. Opening his eyes, he found his wife missing from the bed. Glancing around, he saw her in her pajamas, standing by the window, staring outside. He called her name, but she didn't respond. He realized she might be sleepwalking. Fearing she might act unpredictably, he crept over. Following her gaze, he saw she was staring at a rectangular lawn below. A chill ran through him. That lawn looked exactly like the one in his dream. She stared as if someone there was summoning her. Not daring to wake her abruptly, he gently guided her back to bed. The blogger stayed awake all night, horrified that it was still following them. He shuddered at the thought of his wife's strange behavior. If the hotel's high-rise windows had been open, the consequences would have been unthinkable. The next morning, when his wife woke, he hesitated to mention the previous night's incident, fearing to scare her. But she told him she'd had the same dream. The blogger gasped. This thing was terrifying. Had it been trying to lure them both to jump? Over the next 2 days, the blogger asked friends for solutions. When he contacted an old military comrade, the comrade said, "Remember Shaolin, the Meow guy from the cooking squad? Back in the company, he often told us stories from his hometown. He mentioned an elder there who is especially good at dealing with such things. Want me to contact Shaolin to see if they can help?" The blogger felt like clutching at a life-saving straw, thanking his comrade repeatedly, and begging for a quick introduction. Soon, with the comrade's help, the blogger took a long leave, drove his wife to Shandong in Guizhou. They arrived in the evening. Shaolin warmly hosted his old comrade. After dinner, the blogger and his wife returned to their hotel, looking forward to meeting the elder the next morning, unaware that it had already arrived. After showering at the hotel, the blogger, exhausted from driving, quickly drifted off. In the middle of the night, he suddenly felt sharp pains in his scalp, as if someone was pulling his hair one by one. He jolted awake, still feeling the pain. Checking the time. It was just after 3 a.m. as he prepared to lie back down. His eyes fell on a terrifying sight. His hair was scattered across the hotel's white pillow. The pain hadn't been a dream panicking. He woke his wife, who was equally shocked by the scene. Sleepless, they sat against the wall with the lights on until dawn. Early the next day, Shaolin drove them to the elder's home. The elder, around 80, with white hair on his temples, had a wise, otherworldly aura. The blogger told him everything that had happened since moving. After listening, the elder fell silent, deep in thought, then told the blogger to buy a gourd from the county market. Though confused, the blogger obliged. The elder then asked him to follow into an inner room while the comrade and wife waited in the reception hall. Stepping into the inner room, the blogger suddenly felt a comforting warmth like sunlight. Before the elder could speak, he poured out his questions. What had he offended? Why was it still haunting them even after they'd left the house? The elder said, "Young man, don't rush. The thing following you is no ordinary spirit. It is a Jian. According to Feiyuming Lufei records of the netherworld, when a person dies, they become a ghost. When a ghost dies, they become a Jian. Even ghosts fear the Jian. The Jian following you is the man in the black robe from your dream. The short-haired woman who appeared repeatedly is just a spirit he captured to harm you. What makes this Jian most dangerous is that it isn't bound by location. It follows people wherever they go. Such things are rarely encountered, so it is normal other masters couldn't handle it. I only know how to deal with it because I assisted my teacher with a few cases when I was young. The elder handed the blogger a paper with patterns, telling him to copy them onto the gourd. He then took a paper package from his bosom, opened it to reveal a sheet covered in symbols, and began chanting loudly. As the chanting sped up, the blogger felt his mind go blank and his body grow light. After 4 or 5 minutes, the elder said, "All right, stand up. The Jian and the woman have been sealed in this gourd, but you must offer incense to it for 7 days, and you too must guard it around the clock." After enduring those 7 long days, the blogger and his wife returned to their house, though anxious. They stayed to verify if the problem was truly solved. Fortunately, those terrifying things never appeared again. That is the end of today's story. If you have folk tales you'd like to hear, leave them in the comments. I am PickTalk, and I'll see you next time.